Hey guys, welcome to this week's podcast episode. I'm delighted to introduce today's guest, Jaclyn Strominger, and she is founder and CEO. She is going to talk to us all about leadership, growth, and finances, on being an unstoppable achiever. I think her message and her journey will resonate with a lot of the female audience out there that want to become entrepreneurs and CEOs. And I'm really happy to welcome Jaclyn to the show. Welcome, Jaclyn.
Christopher, thank you so much for having me. It's such a pleasure to be on. I love talking about business and being an entrepreneur and our mindset, what we do.
Just, talk about where you are, what you do, how you got there, and how you can help the audience.
Yep. So, like I said, as you shared, I am a high performance business coach, and I was not always a high performance business coach. And what I love to share is that, when I started my career, I will admit I am 56. I probably shouldn't say that on air, but I am. But when I started, when we start right out of college and we have these grand plans, and we know we have an idea, a lot of us have an idea of what we wanted to do. I knew exactly what I wanted to do when I got out of college. I had this plan. I did what I was going to do. I got into magazine publishing and I got into consumer marketing. And then it was then what, right? And depending upon where you go and what you do and what companies you're involved in and who your mentors are and the people that are in there, do you have really good leaderships within your company? Are they helping to elevate you up? And I personally never got any of that great stuff and was always searching for it. And it wasn't really until I got married and I jumped into, I can transition from one company to another like nobody's business and to sell myself. And I love teaching people how to sell themselves into a company because I can do it with my eyes closed. My husband and I got married and we moved to Boston, and we used to kid around because I changed jobs and careers just like Boston changes seasons and the weather. But the reason why I'm saying all this is because when you get, in life and in your business, you really need to have a plan, and a plan that is always crafted and moving. It's not just one plan. It's a vision for your life and it's a mission for your life. And that is always evolving. And that is something that it took me few years, like 20, to really figure out. And when I realized my gift was helping people craft their mission and their vision and to take their life to the next level, that's what I love to do. And it all comes into our business, right? I always love to say, create your vision and your mission for your business, create your vision and your mission for your life, and then look at that intersection. So almost like create a little Venn diagram. And what are those interconnecting parts? And how can you take that and be the CEO of your life and your business? And you got these two other parts, your life and your business, but you're running it as the CEO. You've got to have a great mission and a vision and create action plans.
Really insightful intro. And so, one thing we'll talk about is, a lot of we all want success and we're all striving for that, but a lot of us are held back by shame, guilt, fear, humiliation. So, what are strategies to get unstuck and gain momentum, and how you help as a coach to help people achieve personal and professional growth?
So I think so many of us have that get stuck, or we get stuck in our heads. And what I love to do as a coach is really dive into working with my clients on what's their vision, for 5 years, and to help them understand that where they are today, every part of our life is part of a journey. And where you are right now, I help them shift their mindset, and we work together with, obviously good questions and probing and digging deep into not like just their past, but where are their beliefs and where are things coming from? And we really want to uncover the real truth for their beliefs and to help them understand that where they are now, again, it's not a setback, it's a stepping stone to something greater. And and so many people, great people, have shared amazing inspirational speeches. And I love this time of year because you got all the commencement addresses and whatnot. And Roger Federer just gave a speech, and he talked about his mindset and to understand that as a tennis player, even though he was ranked super high, he missed 54% of his shots. And the key thing is to not dwell on the shot. It's to focus on the future, the next shot. And that's one of the things that I love helping my clients do is we want to focus on the next step. What did we learn? What can we grow? The past, what dwelling on the past is not going to help us. We need to learn from it and take a leap. And each step can be a small step, but it leads to something greater.
I love that YouTube video. For the audience, we'll put the links in the really interesting. Just hearing his perspectives, he makes it
Yeah.
seem so effortless, and he talks about that.
Yeah, it's great, but there's so many, I mean, there's so many great inspirational stories like that. But it's what I love doing is helping my clients understand that the shots they're taking, it's okay if we miss. It's not, don't focus on the miss, focus on the next.
So talk about so one thing is I talked with another previous podcast guest, and we talked about like kind of when you're at this kind of not breaking point, but you're on the edge of, getting, like, for example, a promotion or a sale, or and then but then you self-sabotage. So how does confidence play a role in business success, and how do you build and maintain confidence in these times where your subconscious is telling you you're not good enough, you can't do it, you can't make it, you're not this and that, how do you handle that?
So I think that's one of the things that I think a lot of, I mean, I don't know anybody who doesn't have that in them. And it's really the language that you speak to yourself. And this is one of the things that I really work with my clients on is that we come up with a mantra. I know it may sound kind of funny, but it goes back to what our vision and our mission and our mantra is. And we craft a mantra that they can say to themselves every single day when they get up in the morning so that they feel good. It's like you want to start the day feeling that you're like Rocky and you're like, yes, I can do it. And know that you have to take whatever setback you had, and not even a setback, but like, let's say you didn't get that pass sale. Well, why didn't you? What can you learn from it? And so I love helping them craft their mantra. And then I ask my clients every time they are on a call or they're working with a customer or client to be aware, to write down the good, the bad, and the ugly. What did they love? And just write it down and be aware of it. Because in order to actually make a change, we have to be aware. And I always like to say we always have to MMA our business, right? We got to punch it out, right? Well, MMA actually is an acronym for measure, monitor, and adjust. We have to measure what we are doing and the actions that we're doing. So if we do have that person who's diving, like has that fear of I'm not going to make the sale or I'm not good enough. Well, say your mantra, get out of your own head because it's not going to help you. So really get out of your head and write down and create the awareness. If you feel that way, write it down because in order for you to make a shift or a change, you have to be aware that it's happening.
I really like that. And one thing that just kind of to smash through imposter syndrome is basically to flood your senses. Just basically, it's kind of like jumping into a 50-degree pool, or a hot sauna, and it's just kind of, you have to flood your senses and just over and over repeated exposure, and then you start to reach this point where it's like, then you can start to grow and you can start to learn, and you get past all these like shame and fear and guilt, all these
Yeah.
rationalizations. So
So what I'd love to share about this is like I think, and we all go through it. So I'll share something that happened. I before I turned 50, I was working, and I was feeling that ick, that stuck, that feeling in my stomach, like am I gonna reach the next level? Am I going to grow in my business? And I was really having that self-doubt. And so one of the things that I did to shift is I started doing things to hype myself up. And, I changed the music I was listening to. Okay, I will tell you that I also turned off the television because the news is not good and there's nothing great. There's not a lot of good stuff on TV. I watched happy movies. I was making sure I was doing the things that made me happy and feel super excited inside. I'm a big person. I believe that fitness is really key. Endorphins are amazing. So I made sure I got on these extra long bike rides and would go for runs. And I'd listen to great music, and I would read things that were, read my mantra every single day. And I could feel the energy within me shift. And and that, that interaction, what I did was that I remember I went to this next meeting, and then I could feel my energy was so different that I blew up my business that day. Like I was attracting people like nobody's business. And it was like this flood opened up. And I say that because it's our energy and our vibe and the what we're saying to ourselves that attracts the right tribe and the right people. And so before you get on a sales call or before you make that crazy appointment, what are you going to do to hype yourself up before you walk into that networking meeting? I kind of kid around. I teach people, what is your mantra? What's your Rocky song? I tell people, go into the bathroom, okay? And before you walk into a networking meeting or before you walk into that crazy meeting, if you got to do some jumping jacks, listen to some music, but pump yourself up, put a smile on your face, and you are going to have a whole new sense of energy that is going to be super attractive. And you're going to exude, people are going to want to come and be part of you because of the energy that you're putting out.
And no, I think what you're describing is charisma, is what you're
Yes.
describing. And it's really interesting because, that's why I'm always like, I have to work on my diet, but, fitness, always have some sort of movement, stretching, yoga, like, or just like sprint, like you're talking about, just kind of because that really changes you, like your physiology and your state changes. And that way you can start to make the shifts. I think what you're describing is a lot of it's what Tony Robbins is
Yeah.
advocating. I'm sure you're aware of
Yeah.
him and his techniques. Um, so what the other question is, talk about communication and why we fail to communicate, why we fail to connect with people, and why it's so crucial for success, and how a business coach can help you.
So, this is like, I love this question. So how, because how we communicate, this is, so I have a framework that I work with my clients through, and it's called the LEAP framework, which is level up your communication, energy, action, and I have two P's in there. They're kind of together. It's propel and performance. But the L part is level up our communication. It starts with the communication and what we say to ourselves. So our mantra, our mindset, our vision. And then communication is so important because what we say to people and how we say it, the more we can communicate, the more people know that you are there for them. You always say, people love it better when you actually value them and they feel valued, right? And so by communicating, the more we can communicate, the person on the other end is going to feel that value, and it feels that they matter to you. And I share a really good example of this. I'm working with a client, and we communicate. And one of the things that I'm also using her for something in business. We have a new platform that's coming out, and I'm texting her and I don't get a response. And I'm emailing her and I don't get a response. And yet at the same time, when I'm coaching her, one of the things that we talk about is communication. So now that I'm client and coach, I've said to her, it is so important, even if you just acknowledge. You might not have time. We are all super busy, but I, as your client, don't feel heard. You message me as your coach, and you know I'm getting back to you. I actually over communicate. I will message people using, different voice texting apps. So the more we can communicate, the more the other person that we need to connect with feels valued. And your team is going to feel heard. And if you're running a business and you've got a team, you can't do things in a void. You need to communicate. And you also need to know, where does your team feel about the direction that you're going in? Are they bought into it? Do they feel part of it? And it's so important to get your team's buy-in and to know that they feel heard and valued.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I really enjoyed that. And how do, like I said, communication and empathy, and how can people contact you and follow you and reach out to you for coaching if, or, find out more about what you do?
So best way is to go to my website, leaptoyoursuccess.com. So it's leaptoyoursuccess.com. So leaptoyoursuccess.com. And when you get there, I have a great journal. It's called the Unstoppable Achievers Journal, and I have the digital version. So you can grab this, and it's great about coming up with your mantra, your mission, your vision. It's a lot of great stuff in there. But that is the best way. You can also find me on all the social channels with just my name, Jaclyn Strominger. Although I should say I'm not really on X, but you
Yeah.
can find me on Instagram, on LinkedIn, and on Facebook at Jaclyn Strominger.
Audience, let's thank Jaclyn for coming on, and really interesting, and really enjoyed the talk, and be sure to give her socials a like and follow, and thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me.